Before we start this new chapter, it's time to declutter our snippets folder again by downloading a new one from the Resources menu on the training website. This time, it's PHP Training version 0107. Remember, right-click on this to save the link to the desktop, and then on the Snippets pane in Bluefish, right-click and import the file you've just downloaded. From the desktop, PHP Training -0107, and you've loaded the new snippets folder. In this chapter then, you'll use SQL join and left join to create nested tabular output. You'll start to understand why database output in PHP is usually better done with MySQL fetch array rather than with nested repetition structures. And we'll convert the HTML link tag to PHP and then create and use a CSS file for page formatting. You'll be introduced to PHP functions, and finally we'll use an include file to include the same set of functions in multiple scripts using the PHP construct include once with a relative path and file name. Recall that MySQL is a relational database management system using SQL, which is itself a language syntax to manage a relational database. Having said that, most, but not all, of so-called standard SQL is implemented in MySQL. One of the key SQL language constructs is the join, which extends select constructs and can also be used for multiple updates and deletes. We've used a form of join already, the left join, to get a list of all persons with their company ID if they had one. Note my emphasis on all persons, even those with no company ID at all. Simply join by itself, without the left modifier, would have returned only those T-person records which had a company ID which actually matched a record in the T-company table. Left join, or right join, also returns unmatched T-person records with nulls in the associated T-company fields for the query. For simplicity, you can really consider just two types of join. Join by itself, which is identical to inner join, which is more complete, returns only the records where the joined fields match. Left join, or right join, returns records of the left or right table with null in the field values of unmatched records. In MySQL, the outer modifier is largely redundant with left join. Right join is semantically identical to left join, where the table's stated in the opposite way. We'll see more of that later. Now, if you're interested in a more detailed and complete treatment of the different types of join and the subtle nuances between them, I recommend you go to the MySQL manual for join and have a read of the different types and the way it's used, with lots and lots of examples of how to use the different forms of join. But I repeat that for the time being, we'll consider just two types of join, join by itself and left join. We'll use left join when we want all records of one of the tables, since we'll want the user to see which records have missing join references as well as those that have defined references. Now let's demonstrate this in PHP MyAdmin. First of all, let's go and get a snippet from examplet's joins and nests SQL join. Now this snippet isn't a PHP script, it's an SQL statement. It selects fields from T-person join T-company on T-person company ID equals T-company ID. So let's copy all of that script and go to PHP MyAdmin, click on the SQL tab and paste the query into the SQL tab and click Go. And this lists all of the records where the company ID in the person table is equal to the ID in the company table. Notice that records 8 and 12, that is T-person records with ID 8 and 12, are missing. Let's go and edit this SQL statement by putting left join in instead of just join. and run the query, notice now with left join, we get records with tperson 8 and tperson 12, but they have null entries in the company fields. So the difference between join by itself, where we got only the tpersons that matched a company, and left join, where we got all of the tpersons with nulls in the company fields, is now apparent. Just for completeness, if you edit the SQL statement again and replace the left join with right join, run the SQL, and then we can close the SQL window, notice we now get the 3 companies listed that don't have any people in them as well. So let's move on seeing how this is useful in our data processing project.